Hi again, family. This is day 55 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're still in the book of Deuteronomy, covering chapters 15 through 18. Now Moses is speaking to Israel and the generation that's going into the Promised Land, and we're currently in the section of the book where it's a big reiteration of a lot of laws that we've already seen in Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers. There's some different emphasis and some different specific things, but a lot of it is just saying the same thing in a different way. And a lot of it is hard to get through, I'll grant you that, but let's see how it goes. At the end of every 7 years, there is to be a general forgiveness of debt. This is how it is to be done. Every creditor is to give up his right to whatever he has let his neighbor have. He is not to make his neighbor, his countryman, give it back, because a general forgiveness has been ordered by Yahweh. A man of another nation may be forced to make payment of his debt, but if your brother has anything of yours, let it go. But there will be no poor among you, for Yahweh will certainly give you his blessing in the land which Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage. If only you give ear to the voice of Yahweh your God, and take care to keep all these orders which I give you today. For Yahweh your God will give you his blessing as he has said. You will let other nations have the use of your money, but you will not make use of theirs. You will be rulers over a number of nations, but they will not be your rulers. If any of your towns in the land which Yahweh your God is giving you, there is a poor man, one of your countrymen, do not let your heart be hard or your hand shut to him. But let your hand be open to him in the use of whatever he is in need of. And see that there is no evil thought in your heart, moving you to say to yourself, the 7th year, the year of forgiveness is near. And so looking coldly on your poor countryman, you give him nothing. And he will make an outcry to Yahweh against you, and it will be judged as sin in you. But it is right for you to give to him without grief of heart. For because of this, the blessing of Yahweh your God will be on all your work and on everything to which you put your hand. For there will never be a time when there are no poor in the land, and so I give orders to you. Let your hand be open to your countrymen, to those who are poor and in need of your land. If one of your countrymen, a Hebrew man or woman, becomes your servant for a price, and does work for you 6 years, in the 7th year let him go free. And when you make him free, do not let him go away with nothing in his hands, but give him freely from your flock and from your grain and your wine, in the measure of the wealth which Yahweh your God has given you. You are to give to him. And keep in mind that you yourself were a servant in the land of Egypt, and Yahweh your God made you free. So I give you this order today. But if he says to you, I have no desire to go away from you, because you and your family are dear to him, and he is happy with you, then take a sharp pointed instrument, driving it through his ear into the door, and he will be your servant forever. And you may do the same for your servant girl. Let it not seem hard to you that you have to send him away free, for he has been working for you for 6 years, which is twice the regular time for a servant. And the blessing of Yahweh your God will be on you in everything you do. All the first males to come to birth in your herd and your flock are to be holy to Yahweh your God. The first birth of your ox is not to be used for work. The wool of your first lamb is not to be cut. But year by year you and all your house are to take a meal of it before Yahweh, in the place of his selection. But if it has any mark on it, if it is blind or has damaged legs, or if there is anything wrong with it, it may not be offered to Yahweh your God. It may be used for food in your houses. The unclean and the clean may take of it, as of the gazelle and the roe. Only do not take its blood for food, but let it be drained out on the earth like water. Take note of the month of Aviv, and keep the Passover to Yahweh your God. For in the month of Aviv your God took you out of the land. For in the month of Aviv Yahweh your God took you out of Egypt by night. The Passover offering from your flock or your herd is to be given to Yahweh your God in the place marked out by him as the resting place of his name. Take no leavened bread with it. For 7 days let your food be unleavened bread, that is, the bread of sorrow, for you came out of the land of Egypt quickly. So the memory of that day when you came out of the land of Egypt will be with you all your life. For 7 days let no leaven be used through all your land, and nothing of the flesh which is put to death in the evening of the first day is to be kept through the night until morning. The Passover offering is not to be put to death in any of the towns which Yahweh your God gives you, but in the place marked out by Yahweh your God as the resting place of his name. There you are to put the Passover to death in the evening at sundown at the time of the year when you came out of Egypt. It is to be cooked and taken as food in the place marked out by Yahweh. And in the morning you are to go back to your tents. For 6 days let your food be unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is to be a holy meeting to Yahweh your God. No work is to be done. Let 7 weeks be numbered from the first day when the grain is cut. Then keep the Feast of Weeks to Yahweh your God with an offering freely given to him from the wealth he has given you. Then you are to be glad before Yahweh your God, you and your son and your daughter, your manservant and your womanservant, and the Levite who is with you, and the man from a strange country, and the child without a father, and the widow who are living among you, in the place marked out by Yahweh your God as a resting place for his name. And you will keep in mind that you are a servant in the land of Egypt, and you will take care to keep all these laws. You are to keep the Feast of Tents for 7 days after you have got in all your grain and made your wine. You are to keep the feast with joy, you and your son and your daughter, your manservant and your womanservant, and the Levite, and the man from a strange country, and the child without a father, and the widow who are living among you. Keep the feast to Yahweh your God for 7 days, in the place marked out by Yahweh, because the blessing of Yahweh your God will be on all the produce of your land and all the work of your hands, and you will have nothing but joy. 3 times in the year let all your males come before Yahweh your God in the place named by him, at the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tents. And they are not to come before Yahweh with nothing in their hands. Every man is to give as he is able, in the measure of the blessing which Yahweh your God has given you. You are to make judges and overseers in all your towns which Yahweh your God gives you for every tribe. And they are to be upright men, judging the people in righteousness. You are not to be moved in your judging by a man's position. You are not to take bribes, for bribes make the eyes of a wise man blind, and the decision of the upright false. Let righteousness be your guide, so that you may have life, and take for your heritage the land which Yahweh your God is giving you. Let no holy tree of any sort be planted by the altar of Yahweh your God which you will make. You are not to put up stone pillars, for they are hated by Yahweh your God. No ox or sheep which has a mark on it, or is damaged in any way, may be offered to Yahweh your God, for that is disgusting to Yahweh your God. If there is any man or woman among you, in any of the towns which Yahweh your God gives you, who does evil in the eyes of Yahweh your God, sinning against his agreement, by becoming a servant of other gods and worshipping them, or the sun or the moon, or all the stars of heaven, against my orders, if word of this comes to your ears, then let this thing be looked into with care. And if there is no doubt that it is true, and such evil has been done in Israel, then you are to take a man or woman who has done the evil to the public place of your town, and they are to be stoned with stones until they are dead. On the word of 2 or 3 witnesses a man may be given the punishment of death, but he is not to be put to death on the word of 1 witness. The hands of the witnesses will be the first to put him to death, and after them the hands of all the people. So you are to put away the evil from among you. If you are not able to give a decision as to who is responsible for a death, or who is right in a cause, or who gave the first blow in a fight, and there is a division of opinion about it in your town, then go to the place marked out by Yahweh your God, and come before the priests, the Levites, or before him who is judge at the time. And they will go into the question and give you a decision. And you are to be guided by the decision they give in a place named by Yahweh, and do whatever they say, acting in agreement with their teaching and the decision they give, not turning to one side or the other from the word they have given you. And any man who, in his pride, will not give ear to the priest whose place is there before Yahweh your God, or to the judge, is to be put to death. You are to put away the evil from Israel, and all the people hearing of it will be full of fear and put away their pride. When you have come into the land which Yahweh your God is giving you, and have taken it for a heritage and are living in it, if it is your desire to have a king over you, like the other nations around you, then see that you take as your king the man named by Yahweh your God. Let your king be one of your countrymen, not a man of another nation who is not one of yourselves. And he is not to get together a great army of horses for himself, or make the people go back to Egypt, or get horses for him, because Yahweh has said, you will never again go back that way. And he is not to have a great number of wives, for fear that his heart may be turned away, or great wealth of silver and gold. And when he has taken his place on the seat of his kingdom, he is to make in a book a copy of this law, from that which the priests, the Levites, have in their care. And it is to be with him for his reading all the days of his life, so that he may be trained in the fear of Yahweh his God, to keep and do all the words of this teaching and these laws, so that his heart may not be lifted up over his countrymen, and he may not be turned away from the orders to one side or the other, but that his life and the lives of his children may be long in his kingdom in Israel. The priests, the Levites, that is, all the tribe of Levi, will have no part or heritage with Israel. Their food and their heritage will be the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, and they will have no heritage among their countrymen. Yahweh is their heritage, as he has said to them. And this is to be the priest's right. Those who make an offering of a sheep or an ox are to give to the priest the top part of the leg and the two sides of the head and the stomach. And in addition, you are to give him the first of your grain and wine and oil, and the first wool cut from your sheep. For he and his sons after him forever have been marked out by Yahweh your God from all your tribes to do the work of priests in the name of Yahweh. And if a Levite, moved by a strong desire, comes from any town in all Israel where he is living to the place marked out by Yahweh, then he will do the work of a priest in the name of Yahweh his God, with all his brothers the Levites who are there before Yahweh. His food will be the same as theirs, in addition to what has come to him as the price of his property. When you have come into the land which Yahweh your God is giving you, do not take as your example the disgusting ways of those nations. Let there not be seen among you any one who makes his son or his daughter go through the fire, or anyone using secret arts, or a maker of strange sounds, or a reader of signs, or any wonder worker, or anyone using secret force on people, or putting questions to a spirit, or having secret knowledge, or going to the dead for directions. For all who do such things are disgusting to Yahweh, and because of these disgusting things Yahweh your God is driving them out before you. You are to be upright in heart before Yahweh your God. For these nations whose land you are taking give attention to readers of signs and to those using secret arts. But Yahweh your God will not let you do so. Yahweh your God will give you a prophet from among your people. Like me, you will give ear to him. In answer to the request you made to Yahweh your God in Horeb on the day of the great meeting, when you said, "Let not the voice of Yahweh my God come to my ears again, and let me not see this great fire any more, or death will overtake me." Then Yahweh said to me, "What they have said is well said. I will give them a prophet from among themselves, like you, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he will say to them whatever I give him orders to say. And whoever does not give ear to my words, which he will say in my name, will be responsible to me. But the prophet who takes it on himself to say words in my name, which I have not given him orders to say, or who says anything in the name of other gods, will come to his death. And if you say in your hearts, 'How are we to be certain that the word does not come from Yahweh?' When a prophet makes a statement in the name of Yahweh, if what he says does not take place, and his words do not come true, then his word is not the word of Yahweh. The words of the prophet were said in the pride of his heart, and you are to have no fear of him." So two things that I want to bring your attention to here at the end of this reading is one, that as we're starting to see in the reiteration of the law in Deuteronomy, is that there is this common theme where God is lifting up the foreigner, the orphan, and the widow in the eyes of Israel, right? He's elevating their status and saying, you need to take care of these people. You need to take care of the one who's not from among you, who's a foreigner in your land. You need to take care of the child who doesn't have a father, and you need to take care of the widow who doesn't have a husband, right? It's because those types of people, I mean, specifically the orphan and the widow, right? They don't have anybody to take care of them, right? So they're just automatically in a bad situation. But the foreigner is among a strange people, right? That's a vulnerable position to be in. So God is wanting Israel to take care of these people at the highest priority. And that's awesome because Jesus says the same thing. True religion is this, to take care of the orphans and the widows. Now, he doesn't specifically say the foreigner, but I'm pretty sure he's got that in his mind, especially since his message was supposed to broaden out beyond the Jews into the Gentiles, right? Interesting stuff. And the second thing is this specifically in chapter 17, when God is talking about when you set a king above yourself, when you have a king, this is what the king is supposed to do. The king is not supposed to gather horses. The king which is like military stuff, right? Military power, tanks, chariots, no horses. Don't go back to Egypt and get Egyptian horses. What the king should be doing, instead of amassing wealth and power, the king needs to have a book and write the Torah, write the law down, and study it day and night. It's just, what? That doesn't make sense. The king of a nation is not building an army so that he can defend itself from the nation. Well, no, God is saying, your king is going to be a Bible nerd, and I'm going to be the one who protects you and keeps you safe. And so, how great is it that on the topic of Jesus is king, Jesus was the ultimate Bible nerd? Respectfully, absolutely. So I hope I've given you something to think about today, and go on and have a wonderful day.